Indiana. How you doing, sir?
I'm well. I'm well. Can you hear me okay with these things in? I haven't used them really all year, but we've got a special surprise today, and I wanted to make sure the quality was good.
Yeah, I think I know who the surprise is. I got to guess.
I haven't told you. Yeah, I haven't told you. I just informed you that we were going to have a surprise.
All right. But before we get into that, let's cover VCU Oregon really quick. What do you know about that situation? What can you report about that situation? What details do you have for the people that are living under a rock or that may have been too drunk last night to remember? VCU had multiple positive tests pop up in the last 48 hours, and they were they weren't allowed to play. Their game was canceled. They were sent home. So we did not. We only got 31 of the 32 first-round games that we were supposed to get. What can you tell me about that situation?
So basically, they had multiple tests earlier in the week. Okay, like Wednesday, Thursday, midweek, they had multiple tests. Thought maybe there was a chance they were going to be able to play, but then they got hit with another positive yesterday, and that was it. You know, the county, Marion County, stepped in and basically said, we're not comfortable with you playing, which made sense because if you've got multiple ones, obviously you're playing against Oregon. If Oregon wins, what happens there? So obviously you got to be a little bit sensitive and careful to the overall tournament. So Mike Rhodes knew this could be coming. It didn't make it any easier. I spoke to him and AD Ed McLaughlin right after the news broke, and you know you can just tell like they were absolutely heartbroken for the players. You know, like Bones Highland broke down. All the other players were crying. You know, and I don't know if this could have been avoided. You know, there are a couple scenarios that popped up that I reported on afterwards that, you know, Roger Ayers was the referee who tested positive and was sent home on Monday, and he officiated Sunday's game between VCU and St. Bonaventure. And a lot of people are telling me, well, if VCU got it, why didn't St. Bonaventure get it? Well, because St. Bonaventure, most of its players had already tested positive. VCU, that wasn't the case. They really hadn't had any hit through the program. So that was one scenario. Another scenario that was brought up to me by several people in the A10, whether it's St. Bonaventure or VCU related, was that they were staying at a hotel in Dayton. They both got there. Teams got there Friday night, and there was some sort of state tournament with a bunch of people walking through the hotel and around the hotel without masks on. You know, again, these are scenarios. We have no idea what contributed. It might have been something completely different. We know even the people who take the best precautions get hit with COVID at times. So I'm not saying that either definitely contributed to it. What I would say is I'm surprised that they didn't find a hotel, the A10 didn't, that was only relegated to VCU and St. Bonaventure in Dayton.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this: the hotel part of it is something that I kept hearing when talking with people about this. The reason why they went to the hotel that they went to was the ease of it because it was directly across the street from the arena they were playing in.
Yeah,
which makes sense. But the problem is when you do that and you have it open to the public, you no longer have a controlled environment. You know that's the thing about this is the NCAA has been very strict in referring to this as a controlled environment instead of as a bubble, which and the difference really is not enormous as long as you're able to actually keep people out of the place that you're in. But you're not able to keep people out of the place that you're in if you have a basketball state tournament going on with all the people staying in the same hotel and people walking maskless through the lobby, and it was a problem waiting to happen. You know, I think that the people that made the decision to stay at that hotel in the Atlantic 10 are going to be, you know, they're gonna have to answer some questions. We do have a guest that just popped up, though. Are you ready, Jeffrey?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Who it was going to be? I knew exactly who it was going to be.
All right. Well, you're smarter than me.
What's up, Boals? Head coach of the Ohio University Bobcats. How we doing, man?
Doing great. Yourself? Thanks for having me on.
What's up, Jeff?
Not much. How you doing today?
I think I have a nicer hotel room than you, or bigger. Did you get a suite? Like, I want to know what you got. I'm over here at the Residence Inn. I got the double. I got the fridge behind me. How's your hotel?
You know, I got a suite and I got an awesome view of the Capitol building. And
nice.
it's a really cool view.
So give me when you woke up this morning, Jeff. What was it like for you? You had reality hit that Virginia, the defending champs in the NCAA tournament. Like your road's a little bit different than a lot, and we could talk about that later. But what were the feelings when you woke up today?
Yeah, I mean, it's still surreal. I mean, to beat Virginia, defending national champs, ACC champs, and obviously have a lot of great respect for Coach Bennett and what he's been able to do at Virginia, and just crazy, surreal.
So Jeff, everybody knows the story of Jason Preston at this point, right? Like he was 6 foot as a senior in high school, somehow ends up at an AAU tournament that gets him into a prep school, and as the legend goes, you offered him a scholarship based off of some mixtape that he posted on Twitter and some highlights that you had seen. Is that true? Can you just kind of?
It wasn't Boals.
Right. Yeah, I was near Saul Phillips and Will Ryan was the guy who's the head coach at Wisconsin Green Bay. And, I always said, like, what Will saw in him, obviously a lot of other people didn't. And, when he ended up coming to OU, he was about 6'3", 160. And, his freshman year, he played off the ball for most of the year. And then probably about the maybe last 6-7 games of the regular season, they put him on the ball. And you could just tell he had it, that vision, the passing. And so when I got there, he was about 6'3", 170, and he grew another inch and, gained about 15, 20 pounds that summer. And just like, if you go back to his story, Rob, like everything that happened, the way it happened, like to get to this point, like he forgot his shoes for that AAU tournament. He had to turn around, go back to the apartment. Like imagine if he got there and no one had shoes, just little things like that, when you really think about his story, it's a movie. His life is a movie.
What's it like coaching a kid like that?
Yeah, just awesome. He's a great kid to be around on a daily basis. He loves the game of basketball. Always watching NBA games, NCAA games. Watching videos. Wants the extra. And the thing that I saw the most, is just off the court. Always talk to him about, hey, be a pro's pro. And be a leader, and he'd never been in that role before, so I had to catch myself sometimes, like you have to coach him how to be a leader, what to say, what to think, what different things to do. And so many times I think as coaches you expect kids to lead because they're the best player or a senior, but they don't know how to do it, they don't know what to say, and he's a sponge. He's just great to be around.
That's actually really interesting that you make that point, because he's probably never been a star before on any team, has he?
No, I mean, like last year we played St. Bonaventure and beat them, and then our third game was Iona, and he's always been a pass first, second point guard. So the first 4 minutes of the game, they're locking on their shooters like Illinois did. He's coming off a ball screen and making passes and turn the ball over. So I said, JP, you have to score the ball. Like he'd never been a scorer really. And he ended up having like 27 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists that game. And he's, you fail to realize, like you mentioned, like he'd never been a go-to guy. Like 5 years ago, the guy was averaging 2 points a game, not even playing in his high school. So there's a lot of things you learn through the course of time, and you expect and think they know, but they don't know.
All right, Jeff. I don't know if Goodman told you, but we do have a surprise for you on the stream today.
You didn't tell me.
What's up, Coach?
Hey, what's up?
We got the Bowl family connection here. We wanted to connect you guys. We wanted to, Chase has been like my biggest fan here of DMing me constantly throughout the year, Boals. So we had to bring him on and get you guys kind of reunited here. How hard has it been, Chase, not being able to see your dad? Obviously you see him from afar last night after the win against Virginia, but not being able to give him, I don't know if you still give him hugs at 14 years old anymore, but, I'm assuming you would have after that one.
Yeah, I think it's a responsibility for him to have to stay away. Like I know it's like hard for him, and it's obviously hard for us, but it's just a sacrifice we have to make. But I like seeing him up closer than we usually are. But yeah, I think it's a lot easier when I get to go see him at the games than FaceTiming him. But yeah, like when we went through that one COVID pause, it was very hard because I couldn't see him for like a week and a half or something. So, and then recently we've been staying away from each other, not trying to, get in too close of contact with me going to school, being around everybody.
Jeff, what's it like? What's it like now, seeing Chase and again, like winning that game and having your family there? I was at Abilene Christian last night, and it was cool, but I also felt like, Joe Pleasant couldn't hug Anthony Pleasant after he made those free throws. How hard is that for you not to jump in the stands and hug your family?
Yeah, it's funny he chases on here because I called him. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna be on Goodman and Dauster's live this morning."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, cool. Okay. See ya." But
We had it hooked
Chase
up.
is my
We
guy,
had it hooked
man.
up.
He lives it, breathes it, dies it, and he's our best recruiter. And the tough thing for me was that after that MAC championship game, not to have him down there cutting the nets down with us, dancing on the floor, taking the pictures. And that, that's everybody, their families, there's a sacrifice involved. And, you wish you could, enjoy those experiences together because he's been through a lot. He's lived in Akron, lived in Columbus, lived in Stony Brook, and now we're back at Ohio University. And a lot of people don't realize what the sacrifice, kids make of coaches, sons and daughters. And just, you want to experience it with them.
So, Jeff, you mentioned dancing on the floor after the game. I got to ask you, did you see your dad dancing in the locker room last night? Can you kind of break that down from us?
Listen, so I've made a tweet previously about how, I think he needs some new dance moves, and part of it's on me. I need to give him some, new lessons or something. I don't like the jazz hands going on there. I don't know what that was.
That was the Junebug challenge, man. The Junebug challenge.
And then he gave me a little shopping cart. I don't know what that was, going around in a circle. I think, you need some new dance moves. Like I forget who was saying it last night in the studio. They're talking about how you need some new dance moves because, it was Mark Titus. He was going at you for, your little, whenever you don't know what to do, you go with the dab.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, man. Like, Chase said Charles Barkley called me out. We might have to have a dance off, me and him. But, I work for Mark Schmidt at Robert Morris. And he always told me after every win, enjoy it and celebrate it because you never know when the next one's coming.
Well, I'll tell you this much, guys. I was at a wedding 2 years ago for Jeff Borzello and Goodman was there. And I got a video of Goodman racing to a DMX song that I showed you guys. Whew, not good.
Yeah, it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. You got me beat, Boals. You got me beat, no problem whatsoever. All right, well, listen, we really appreciate you guys coming on. We wanted to get the two of you on together. I know it's been difficult for you guys not to be able to be. Listen, my 17-year-old daughter even misses me right now, which never happens. So I know how hard it is for everybody right now. Enjoy it. Good luck against Creighton, and I can't wait for that Jason Preston Marcus Zagorowski matchup. So I'll be there tomorrow for that one, and lock into that scout, Boals.
Awesome, appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Chase.
That was fun.
All right, there you have it. There you have it. Right? Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was so I figured it out as soon as we launched the stream. A little notification popped up that said Chase Boals has joined the chat, and I was like, "Oh, this is it."
All right. It was a little giveaway, but it was still. I think those. Yeah. I don't know. Those are the cool stories. Again, when I was watching, last night. How about this? So the VCU Oregon game being scrapped. I was supposed to be at that game, so that was my fourth game of the day. You can only pick 4 games a day. That was my fourth game of the day, and when it got scrapped. We were next door. We were in Lucas Oil, and it's split in half. And we were at Missouri, Oklahoma. And when it was scrapped, we were walking into Lucas Oil at the time. And I looked for the game, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just stay here. Texas Abilene Christian, Joe Golding. You know what I think of Joe Golding. You absolutely know. I've been talking about him how often? And he pulled up the upset.
Too much. You've been talking about him
too much. Too much. But, like, I was right. That dude can coach. He's very similar to Chris Beard, not just because they're boys, but because of their systems and how they approach everything and how they hold guys accountable, how they recruit toughness. And I thought that was the biggest upset of the NCAA tournament so far. I mean, we can argue with Oral Roberts, we can argue with North Texas. I will say this: do any of those teams who they beat have 3 potential NBA players on the roster, which is what Texas had on the front line?
Yeah, well, I mean, Texas, man. I don't even know where to start with that one. I will say this: what Joe Golding did defensively was just unbelievable. So my
ridiculous.
Like, I watched them play before, and I just did not think that they would be able to do what they did against a team that had veteran guards like Texas had, against a team that had NBA talent like Texas had, and they forced turnovers on 36% of the Texas possessions.
Yep.
They got 21 offensive rebounds against a team that has 3 pros on the front line. Like, what he did was just incredible. And I think
18 offensive rebound, 18 offensive rebounds, 18.
And I want to give a lot of the credits has to go to Joe Golding, but you also got to give credit to those players, man. Like, do you know how hard it is to play defense as tough and as aggressive as they played for 40 minutes against that level of competition? Like, those dudes, their legs got to be gone right now, man. They got to be so sore. I hope they're in the ice bath or something right now. But, like, all the credit,
live their balls off.
And that was such an intense game. Like, I didn't really have anything on it, right? Like, I bet the first half under, so, like, I wasn't sweating it out. I have Texas in my Final Four, but, like, I don't give a fuck about my bracket.
Golding knew. Golding told me last night. He's like, I know you picked. I think Beard told him. He's like, Beard told me you picked Texas in the game. I'm like, damn right, I picked Texas.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't pick Texas? They get all the talent. Everybody. I mean, a lot of people in Texas, like myself, going to the Final Four. They were that talented, but. The Joe Pleasant story was awesome too, Rob. Like, this is a kid who I'm posting the story in a minute that I wrote, who was terrible when he was younger. I asked him, I said, I went up and talked to Anthony Pleasant, who played in the NFL for like 15 years. I said, we were talking about him, and he said he was awful. He couldn't dribble. And even Joe Pleasant said to me, he's like, yeah, I was the last one picked in pickup when I was younger. I was awful. He's not wrong. And here's this kid who comes up with, 2 biggest free throws. He's like a 9% free throw shooter for the season, and he buries both. And what I wrote was, I think the tournament needed that a little bit at that time, because, again, we're dealing with the VCU thing, and everybody's worried that the tournament might kind of crumble here, and this thing might spread to other teams, and we might have issues. And I think we needed kind of a good feel-good story last night. And anybody who was staying up for that one saw it with Anthony Pleasant and a Abilene Christian program that was awful 10 years ago. Awful. Division II, awful. Not bad in Division I. They were awful in Division II when Joe Golding took over.
They never did anything when Joe Golding took over. And he got there, I want to say it was 2011. I might be making that up. I believe it was 2011. Immediately turned them around, got them to Division I, and now they're in the NCAA tournament, and here they are. At some point, we have to have the conversation about what's going to happen with Shaka Smart and Texas, and is this the kind of thing?
No, we need to do it right now. We have to do it right now. We have to at least touch on it right now. And what would you do if you're Chris Del Conte? Shaka Smart appeared to have saved his job this year with a terrific season. Pros on the front line, veteran guards and wings, and now losing again. He's barely made it in the tournament in the past when he's gotten into Texas. And now you got a team that people are picking to go to the Final Four, and you lose to Abilene Christian, a team in your state, in the first round the way you did. Is that a fireable offense now, Rob, or no?
I don't think that you fire him. What I think that you do is you suggest quite vociferously that he look at the Marquette job. I think that's what I would do if I was Chris Del Conte. Obviously he almost got it before. I think that got pretty far down the road. I
wonder if he can get it now. I mean, honestly, if you're choosing between Porter Moser and Shaka Smart right now, and maybe Beeline, and Marquette's got a lot of talent. So if they somehow kept that talent,
I don't think that it'll be Beeline. Yeah, I don't expect that it'll be Beeline. I could see Porter Moser. I would probably hire him over Shaka at this point, because that's just based off the success that he's had at Loyola. But it's also there are going to be considerations that go a little bit beyond just like how good of a coach that person is going to be. I've heard that they want to make sure that they have a little bit of more diversity in their hiring than they've had in the past, which is something that would need to be taken into account. But I mean, I feel bad for Shaka, man. Like this was the year. This was the year to kind of get that monkey off his back. So, and I don't know if he's going to be able to at this point. But
Minnesota could be a good spot for him. To be honest,
here's the problem with Shaka going to Minnesota is that like there are so many other guys that make sense there. I think Marquette is a little bit of a better fit because there's not as many like obvious options. But like Craig Smith is an obvious option at Minnesota. Nico Medved is an obvious option in Minnesota. Brian Dutcher is an obvious option in Minnesota. Tim Miles makes a lot of sense at Minnesota. Like there are 5, 6, 7 guys.
I get it, but did you not see the story that was written recently in the Minneapolis Star Tribune?
I saw it. I just think it's a little bit more. There's a lot of moving parts.
I don't know.
Both of those.
Yep.
All right. What else did we have yesterday? We had Ohio and Jason Preston winning. That was a very obvious upset. We don't have to talk too much about it. The one thing I just want to say is like there were a lot of overarching opinions coming out about Tony Bennett and Virginia basketball and all this other stuff about because he had
moronic.
He's got like the weirdest 3-year tournament run in the history of the sport.
Sure.
First guy to ever lose to a 16 seed, win a national title, lose to a 13 seed the next year. And so everyone is out here tweeting again and writing again and posting it about how Virginia can't win the big game, this, that, and the third. Look, Virginia was not as good as they normally are this year. They were overinflated as a 4 seed. I think everybody has kind of accepted the fact that they were not quite that good. They were also coming off of a shutdown where they did not practice for a week. And to me, where that showed up in the second half, Virginia got all the shots that they wanted. Go back and watch the tape. They got open shots, the shots that they wanted out of their offense. They all ended up short. You know what that says to me? That says to me that it's a team that didn't have any legs. Now, it's not to say that Ohio didn't deserve to win, because that's not the case at all. They went out there and they executed. They made the plays that they needed to make. They were really, really good defensively. And, the Vanderplas kid made 2 big shots. Jason Preston had 2 beautiful assists on the most important possessions of the game, and they won the game. Like they went out and they did it. But it was,
What else? What else stood out to you? What else stood out to you the most? I mean, the Pac-12's dominance. Big 12, other than Texas, sending everybody forward here. And I mean, listen, I'm trying to think of like what else was kind of that one thing. I mean, Maryland beating your UConn Huskies, that was a little bit surprising.
No, I wasn't.
The way they beat them. Let me
ask you this. On this stream, every single time UConn plays, I've said I'm going to bet on them, right? Every single time. I did not bet on UConn against Maryland. Like that was a horrible matchup. They switch everything.
It was.
They take you out of what you want to run offensively, and they have like 1 or 2 guys that are perfectly suited to being able to lock up James Bouknight. And if you can lock up James Bouknight and take him out of the consideration and not let him create, UConn doesn't have another option. Like that was
very true.
As that came out, what was the first thing I said on Selection Sunday night? It's a horrible match.
Bad matchup. You're right.
I kind of accepted my fate that was going to be the way that thing ended up playing out.
You know who looked good? You know who looked really good? And I don't know if it was just they're better than we think or the team they played isn't very good, is Colorado. They were unbelievable. Samaki Walker's son was like lighting it up. McKinley Wright was exactly what we know McKinley Wright is. Made every right play. And Georgetown lost by felt like 100. Honestly, they were never in this game. It was absolutely. I was at that one to start the day, and I was like, "Oh man, I picked the wrong game here. I picked absolutely the wrong game because I forget what was the other game that I missed. Oh, the Kansas game. I think I could have been at that one, and I chose Henkel for the first two games to see, honestly, Patrick Ewing and Rick Pitino. And neither game were great. Like, Pitino kept it close for a while. I mean, he did a hell of a job. And I was thinking maybe here. But eventually Alabama won out. Herb Jones made a huge play. And, Petty didn't play well. That worries me. But I actually think it's kind of good for Alabama that Petty didn't have one of his games where he was like 5 for 7 from 3 and was terrific, because he'll have it. He'll have it in the next one probably.
Yeah. The only other game that I really wanted to talk about was there's two. I want to talk about UCSB hanging on to or losing to Creighton at the end on a play that was not. Did you think that was a foul at the end on Amadou Sal?
It looked like it to me, but again, I couldn't tell for sure. I couldn't tell, but it looked like it. I just didn't think they were going to get the call anyway.
Yeah, I didn't think that it was a foul. I thought that he went up looking for the contact, trying to avoid the contact instead of just going through and drawing a foul. And I think that's what would have gotten him the call. And it sucks because I had UCSB winning, and that would have been a nice little upset. We would have had a nice little 12-13 matchup in the second round of the NCAA tournament. The other one was Eastern Washington. Did you expect that out of the Eagles, the Groves brothers?
Well, I did, only because you were like, who they're playing against here. It's a Kansas team that's without one of its. They're not exactly loaded with talent this year, as we've said, and they're without Jalen Wilson, one of their top offensive players, and David McCormick's coming back from a long layoff of not practicing with the team, and he looked gassed. Like, I mean, he always does when he runs. Like, he looks tired, but he looked even more lethargic than usual going against the Tanner Groves, who was kind of the star. Imagine if they had won. Like, Tanner Groves would be everywhere today if they had won, because, man, the look, the game, all of it. It was fun to watch Eastern Washington. That was a fun game that, again, I wish I had been at.
Yeah. So UCLA and LSU both looked very, very good yesterday. LSU completely dominated St. Bonaventure, and UCLA was very, very impressive in their win over BYU. Do you take anything out of those two games? I feel UCLA now draws Abilene Christian in the second round of the tournament, which will be an interesting matchup. I actually think that they're better suited to taking on a team like that than Texas is, because Tiger Campbell's a guy that's going to make right decisions and is not going to get too overwhelmed by pressure. I think that what you have to do when you face Abilene is be able to beat them in isolation and kind of win one-on-one. And I think that UCLA has better guys for that than Texas does in theory. So I don't know. We'll see. That's a tough defense that Abilene Christian plays. The other one that is
that's the thing. They just make it so ugly for you. And they're like, I don't know if you could tell on TV, their guards are so small. They're tiny, Rob. Like, that was the part that blew me away as much as just about anything. It's obviously, you got like the matchup of Jericho Sims and I forget his name, number 3 for Abilene. And it's like Jericho's this friggin' hulking beast of a man. And you got this dude who's like maybe 6'4", 260 pounds. And he looks like, honestly, and Golding said this, he's probably going to be a really good defensive end once he finishes playing here. Like, that's probably what he should have been in college. But, man, they just play hard as shit. And that's going to be a hell of a game. It's going to be a hell of a game. Trust me, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about tonight's slate, or today's slate, I guess I should say. Let's just go through every game. We only have 8 games.
Yeah.
We'll go
agreed.
So tipping off first at 12:10, an island game. We have Illinois taking on Loyola Chicago. Illinois is at Bet Rivers right now is laying 7.5. The total there is 133.5. Jeffrey, what do you like?
I think I like Illinois. I watched Loyola in person the other day. They're talented. They're talented. I just don't know, and I love Cam Krutwig. I just don't know how he's going to deal with Kofi. I think Kofi can get him in foul trouble early, and then the game completely changes if that happens. And Krutwig, like, is he a guy who's really going to be able to exploit Kofi on the defensive end? I feel like Kofi's been so much better defensively over the last month or so, even with tough matchups for him, guys that can pull him away from the basket. He just seems to be more confident and making the right decisions on ball screens. So I like Illinois laying the 7.5 here.
Yeah, I like him as well. The thing about Krutwig is I don't think that he'll be able to handle Kofi one-on-one in the paint, which is something that he's been able to do with other bigs. I don't think that I'm worried all that much about him pulling Kofi out on the perimeter because he's not someone that's going to just sit out there and like pull an EJ Liddell and hit step back jumpers on him or anything like that. And the other thing is, Loyola's defense, what they want to do is kind of overplay and take you out of running your offense. So I am a little bit concerned about the fact that they'll probably do what we've seen like Maryland do, where they do a lot of switching and force Io to get to his left hand, which is not ideal. But again, like part of the advantage of having Andre Curbelo out there is now you have two different playmakers, and that's going to be very difficult for them to deal with. So I really like Illinois there. As soon as I saw that line open at 7, I jumped all over it. I think one thing that we have seen is some of these smaller leagues, whether it is the Mountain West or the Missouri Valley, have not been as good once we've gotten them into some of the bigger conference play. Like we saw Drake get run off the floor by USC, which, by the way, like apparently the Pac-12 is the best conference in America.
It's ridiculous. It's so funny.
I really like Illinois. I got them at 7. They're laying 7.5 now. All right, next up at 240, we have Baylor laying 6.5 at Bet Rivers against Wisconsin. That total is 137.5. How do you feel about that one, Jeffrey?
I like giving the points here. I mean, again, I like Baylor. I know Wisconsin came off that absolute thrashing of Carolina, but a big reason is because, honestly, of guard play there, right? I mean, Wisconsin has veteran guards. Pat Davison lit it up. Dimitri Trice lit it up. Well, last I checked, I do not believe Carolina's guards are of the defensive prowess of Davion Mitchell or Jared Butler. So Davison and Trice, you are going to have a completely different look defensively for you today from Baylor. And I think Baylor, again, starting to get that confidence back again. They needed that game against Hartford, to be honest, just to feel like they're back to being Baylor. Whether it's real or not, I don't know, but you need to feel that. And I think they felt it. So I'm laying the points here, 6.5, I think, for Baylor.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing the same thing. The one big concern that I have with the North Carolina front line against Baylor was just overwhelming them on the offensive glass. And Wisconsin's not a team that goes and crashes the glass. Like that's one thing that they kind of like avoid doing to try to prevent you from being able to get out and run in transition. So I'm not really worried about that there. I do think that, to me, there's going to be two things that kind of end up being a key here. The first is going to be does Baylor's defense just completely overwhelm Wisconsin's guards?
Right.
What Baylor wants to do is they want to force you on one side of the floor. We've talked about like the pre-rotating, the pre-helping and all that. But they really just kind of switch everything and try to make you beat them one-on-one. Is Dimitri Trice going to be able to beat a Jared Butler or a Maceo Teague or a Davion Mitchell one-on-one? I don't know. I don't think that Brad Davis.
It'll be tough.
So that'll be big. The other part of it is I think that Matthew Meyer is going to be a key. We've talked before about how Baylor's best 5 might be when they have 4 guards and Mark Vital on the floor. Well, if you can play Matthew Meyer as one of those 4 guards to give yourself a little bit more size and allow him to match up with someone like a Tyler Wall or a Nate Reavers, I think that really changes things. But yeah, I'm into. I think that Baylor's defense is back, and if their defense is back, then I just can't see Wisconsin hanging with the Bears. All right, next up, West Virginia, laying 4 against Syracuse. Yep. That total is 147. Where are you on this game? Tips at 5:15.
Boy, this is a tough one for me. I don't have a great feel for this one. Like, I kind of want to go West Virginia. I think they're the better team, obviously. I think it's kind of low number, only 4, with the way Syracuse was a team that barely got in the tournament. West Virginia's been pretty damn good this year on the offensive end. Defensively, they're not great, and that's what worries me, that Syracuse has kind of got their mojo back now. I mean, Buddy was great in their last game, and front line's been solid. I don't know. What are you playing here?
I really like Syracuse in this spot. I'll be on the blue line, and I'll tell you why. It's pretty simple. According to Synergy's database, uh, West Virginia is the worst team against zone defenses in the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
They are 15th percentile in points per possession against zone defenses. They only faced, I think it was 176 possessions all season, which is a little bit of a small sample size, but it is big enough for us to say they're not very good against zones. We saw it against, I believe it was Oklahoma State, when Oklahoma State went to that zone without Cade Cunningham and beat them in Morgantown. What Oklahoma State was running is very different from what Syracuse is going to end up running. But I do think that the zone is going to be a problem for them. And I understand that they can shoot over the top of it. And I also understand that Syracuse is the worst defensive rebounding team in the tournament, and Derek Culver is a man on the glass. But Culver is going to have to guard Merrick Dolage at the other end of the floor. If he ends up getting into foul trouble, that's the kind of thing where I can see it being a pretty big problem for West Virginia. So I'll probably be on Syracuse. I'm going to take the money line to get a little bit of extra juice. I don't see them losing a close game. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
All right. Next one, Texas Tech, Arkansas.
Yep, Arkansas is
Texas
getting 2 points.
Getting 2, huh?
Yep.
Wow. All right. Scares me a little bit, but you know where I go with this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think Arkansas has probably got a little more talent overall, but I'm going to go with Chris Beard. I just think this is his time of year. I'm expecting Mac McClung to have a big game against Arkansas. I think, you know, again, the key to me is those other guys for Texas Tech. Like, you know, listen, I don't love them in this spot. I don't love them. I just think it's kind of a pick 'em game, and now you're giving 2 points. I don't love that either. But I just trust Beard in these moments. I do. And Arkansas, you know, they haven't been to the Sweet 16 in a long time. I think it's almost like, I don't remember what the date was. You remember what the date the last time I tweeted it out? Now I can't remember.
It was a
long time.
When they had Pat, I think you were making a Pat Bradley joke. So it must have been when they had Pat.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. You're right. Good point.
So I have absolutely no feel for this game. I'm not going to have any money on it. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it because I think it's going to be a little bit of a fun coaching matchup, seeing how these guys adjust. I do expect that we're going to end up in a situation where, like the last 15 minutes of the game, it's full small ball, where we have Justin Smith at the 5 at one end of the floor and Micah Peavy at the 5 at the other end of the floor. I'm going to be very curious to see how Musselman adjusts to the no middle defense that Chris Beard plays, and the fact that it feels like Arkansas. Like, one of the things I was talking with Sam Vecini about this, and he made an interesting point. Moses Moody is a guy that loves driving baseline, but when you drive baseline against Texas Tech, if you're not driving to pass, you're driving straight into a guy that's trying to take a charge. And that might be a little bit of a problem because Moses Moody's not driving to pass; he's driving to score. I think that Arkansas has the guys, the creators on the perimeter, to be able to score in isolation against Tech. But it's also the kind of thing where I think that Tech's defensive schemes are like, if Mark Adams is going to figure out a way to kind of shut down what Arkansas wants to do. So I very much think that this is going to be a close game. I think what I like here more than anything is the under. But again, it's kind of a situation where I don't have a great feel for either side, and I think it's going to be kind of like a defensive feel 'em out game. So I would probably just want to be on the under. But this is one of those games where I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. And if you weren't to force me to take a side, I would probably just take the money line on Arkansas with the extra juice because I very much think that this is a pick 'em game.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, next up, Houston Rutgers.
I got Rutgers at +8.5. It's down to +7.5. Rutgers is
like that.
My second. Illinois was my favorite bet of the day. Rutgers is probably my second favorite bet of the day.
I think Rutgers might be my favorite bet of the day.
Yeah.
Getting whatever you said, 7.5, 8, right around there right now.
Yeah.
I just think, honestly, like, this is just a grinded out game, and again, like, two tough teams. to me, again, Rutgers has kind of found their rhythm again. They lost it there in the middle of the year, but I mean, they got talent, man. Like, they got talent, they got toughness, they got guards, they got some bigs and Miles Johnson, as long as he's healthy. I've never been completely bought into Houston this year. And now you got DeJon Jarreau, who may or may not play today with like a hip point, or he got hit early on in that game the other day. And they need Jarreau now. Like, they didn't need him as much going into the season with Mills, but like now they need Jarreau. Like they need everybody. So I like Rutgers getting 7.5, 8, whatever it is right now.
Yeah. So there's one thing that I've seen people, the point people make is, I talked about this yesterday on the stream. There's a couple of things that I look for when it comes to trying to pick up a side. One of them is like the offensive rebounding percentages. Houston, second nationally in offensive rebounding percentage. Rutgers, 222nd nationally in defensive rebounding percentage. The other one is foul rates and free throw percentages. Houston is the most foul-prone team left in the NCAA tournament. They have the highest defensive free throw rate left in the NCAA tournament. They put a ton of people on the line. Rutgers shoots 63% from the line. Terrible free throw shooting team. All that stuff matters. But I will say this. Part of what Houston wants to do is play bully ball. They want to get physical with you. They want to pound you on the offensive glass. They're bigger. They're stronger. They're more athletic. They were able to just overwhelm teams in the American. What we saw with Memphis, the last 2 games that they played, is that they weren't able to do that. And Rutgers is as good as, if not better, than that Memphis team. I think part of what happened with especially the defensive rebounding stuff is that Rutgers numbers are a little bit skewed because they played in a league where you went up against Luka Garza and Kofi Coburn and Hunter Dickinson and all of these big, massive dudes in the Big Ten. So I think that that's a little bit skewed. And more than anything else, I'm expecting this game to be, like you said, slow pace and grind it out. And giving me 7.5 points in a matchup, when I got 8.5 points in a matchup like this, it's too many points. So I very much will be on Rutgers in this spot. All right, moving on. We have Florida laying 8.5 against Oral Roberts. That totals 148. That line opened up at 6.5.
Wow. It's up to 8.5. Wow. That's a little surprising with the way Oral Roberts played the other day. Appleby, I think we'll give it a go, but they've had their issues lately. Scotty Lewis played well in that first game. Listen, they're more talented. We know that they're big, they're talented, but man, I don't know if I want to go against Asmus and O'Banner right now. Like, those two are a friggin' duo. They can just score the ball. They can shoot it. I'll take the points there. I'll take 8.5 and be happy to take 8.5. I might even take the money line.
I think I actually like Florida in this spot. Your logic is spot on. I don't think that I think that this matchup is better for Florida than the Ohio State matchup was. I think that they have better athletes and better defenders to be able to kind of take away Asmus and Kevin O'Banner. I think that having a Colin Castleton inside to kind of overwhelm the front line is definitely a difference maker because, I mean, look, Oral Roberts is not really all that big. You'll get some easy points that way. And I think that unlike Ohio State, Florida's going to have the best player on the floor, Trey Mann. Everything that Max Asmus can do, Trey Mann can do better. I just –
No, he can't shoot it. He can't shoot it like Max can. He cannot.
Well, okay. Trey Mann is it. If you're going to tell me you want one guy to try to carry a team and try to take over a game, are you taking Trey Mann or are you taking Max Asmus?
Max. I'm taking Max.
Okay. I will take Trey Mann.
Taking Max. All right. You take Trey. I'm taking the nation's leading scorer, the guy who just torched Ohio State.
Yeah, but I mean, look, Ohio State can't really guard ball screens. The one thing that Florida can actually do is they can still guard. They still got dudes. They still got better athletes. I just look. There's way more talent on this Florida roster. I know that they got Mike White coaching them instead of Chris Holtman, but there's way more talent on this Florida roster than there was on Ohio State. So, yeah.
All right.
I like Florida. I think this is where the dream goes to die. Where I think that we're going to actually see a team make a run to the second round is in this next game.
Yeah.
Villanova laying 6 against North Texas. That total is 126. Jeffrey, what do you like here?
Well, I don't love Villanova, but this one scares me. Excuse me.
Whoa.
Excuse me.
Whoa. It's better than a ding, I'll tell you that.
You're supposed to say bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, I don't like, to me, again, kind of your theory a little bit with Winthrop. Now, again, the difference is Javion Hamlet in North Texas have athletes, right? Winthrop they weren't super athletic, especially at the point guard spot. They've got guys that can make plays off the bounce in Denton, Texas. So I think I want to take the points and I want to take the money line and say one of Oral Roberts or North Texas is going to win. So I'm going to take both money lines and end up hitting on one of the two. So that's what I would probably be leaning towards doing. Take the 5.5.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in North Texas in the 6 points here. There's a number of reasons. One, I think that the way that they defend can kind of take away what Villanova wants to do. I'm a little bit worried about the matchup with Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Like, I think he can dominate, but I do think that there are enough good perimeter defenders to kind of make it so you're going to have Jeremiah Robinson Earl win one-on-one, but he's going to try to win one-on-one and score twos, which is not necessarily the most effective way to play a game. I expect this game to be very low scoring. Both of these teams want to walk it up and play possession by possession. So I'm a little bit interested in the under. I know that number's kind of low. I'll probably just be on the first half under as opposed to the full game under. And then offensively, what North Texas can do is, one, Javion Hamlet wants to put the ball on the floor, get in the lane and score. He shoots a ton of floaters. Yeah. And I think he'll be able to penetrate against this Villanova perimeter defense. Villanova is also a team that does not make it a priority to run teams off the three-point line. And as we saw against Purdue, North Texas can really fill it up from beyond the arc. I think they were, 9 for 20 from three against Purdue. Yeah. And they shoot 38% from three on the season. So you combine all of those things with the fact that the biggest issue that North Texas has offensively is that they turn the ball over a ton. And Villanova is not a team that goes out and tries to force turnovers. I really, really like North Texas here. I think that out of all of the teams that have made it to the Sweet 16 as 12 or below, I think that they have the best chance to advance.
All right, I'll give you that. All right, the last one of the night, your Oklahoma State Cowboys and Cade Cunningham against the Tinkles, the Fighting Tinkles. And Wayne Tinkle in the Sweet 16 would be absolutely insane. Talk about improbables. There were a lot of people that thought Wayne Tinkle might get fired after this year. He's still got money left on his contract that probably would have given him another year. But now Wayne Tinkle might get an extension. Can he beat Cade? Can Oregon State? Are you taking the 6 points?
I will not be taking the 6 points. I don't love it, but it's very hard for me. This is a great run, though. I don't want to slander Oregon State. This is a great run that they're on. It's just very difficult for me to back Oregon State in this spot. The only thing that I will say is that Pac-12 teams are no longer allowed to lose in the NCAA tournament. They can't lose games. It is physically impossible for them to lose games. So maybe we should just be on the money line here because the Big 12 only wins.
I feel like the Pac-12 is going to go from having 5 of 32 to 0 of 16. I just feel like it's the bottom's going to fall out. The ACC has already gotten hit pretty hard. And we're going to have a tournament of Big 12 and Big 10 teams, in the Sweet 16. All right. Well, listen, we got some games today. What time is my game? 12:10? Is that
12:10? Where are you going? You got an hour. You're going.
I got to get some coffee in me. I mean, I've gotten a couple hours sleep here. But you know what? It was worth it. It was worth it. Again, Abilene Christian, potentially pulling off the biggest upset of this tournament. And Shaka, I know everybody.
Joe is not happy with us for our pick of North Texas. It's good. I
get it. I love Villanova.
Joe, I'll tell you this.
I love Villanova. I just don't love Villanova without Colin Gillespie.
And 6 points is too many points in this matchup. I think it's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah.
It is.
And if anybody who wanted to hear the Shaka stuff, we did touch on it early. So just make sure you listen to the podcast. Make sure you also check all our bets. We're both pretty hot. We've both been pretty damn hot lately. Rob has been scorching hot. So make sure you check his bets on BetSports. I've been hot all year.
At BetSports. Yeah, you actually. So I was all proud of my graph that I was tweeting out, and then you sent me your graph, and it's just like I have a big hill going up this green. Like you just have a mountain of green.
It's I've been pretty good. I've been pretty good this year, and hopefully it continues. Make you guys some money here these last couple weeks of the season. And again, I think our favorite, your favorite bet of the day, Rob, is it Rutgers? Mine's Rutgers.
Illinois.
Illinois. All right, you got Rutgers. I got. You get Illinois. I got Rutgers.
Yep. All right.
And thanks. Yeah, Jimmy. Thanks, man. I saw you tweet to Warlock. He's not going there. Unfortunately, he's not going to let me cover 8 games today. F the NCAA.
Yeah.